the termination papers across my desk, his tone dripping with the same arrogant self-assurance he had once used when handing me divorce papers. The board's decision was unanimous. I'm Sophia Lee, and until this very moment, I was the CEO and lead developer of SecureFlow, one of Silicon Valley's rising stars in cybersecurity. The company had founded 6 years ago in my garage had grown into a $200 million business, and now my ex-husband had masterminded my ousting. No words? Ethan taunted, leaning back in what was now my chair, his sharp suit a stark contrast to my usual hoodie and jeans. No tears. No begging. I kept my face expressionless as I read the papers. The signatures were all there, even from board members I had trusted. "You've been busy," I remarked softly. "Someone had to be," he responded. "While you were buried in code, I was busy building relationships." That's what leadership is about, Sophia, not hiding away, coding all day. I couldn't help but admire his tactics. The timing was flawless, right before our major product launch when the new security platform I'd spent the last 2 years developing was finally set to go public. "The company needs a different kind of leadership," he continued, clearly enjoying himself. "Someone with a wider perspective." I looked him straight in the eye. "And that someone is you." "The board thinks so," he said, gesturing to the papers. "Sign them, pack up, and we can move forward." 6 months ago, this would have crushed me. But that was before I caught on to his first attempt at accessing my development servers, before I noticed the late-night board meetings I wasn't invited to, before I started preparing. I picked up the pen, signing the papers smoothly and without hesitation. Ethan frowned slightly, had expected resistance, maybe a breakdown. My calm acceptance seemed to disorient him more than any outburst could. "That's it?" he asked. "You're just giving up?" I rose, gathering my laptop and a few personal items from my desk. "What's the point of fighting? You've won, Ethan. The company is yours." His frown deepened. "I know you, Sophia. You don't give up this easily." "People change," I replied, slinging my bag over my shoulder. "Good luck with the launch." As I walked out of my office, his office now, I could almost feel his gaze following me, trying to decipher what he was missing. Ethan had always been adept at reading people, manipulating situations to his benefit. That's what made him such an effective COO. But he'd never fully understood one key thing about me. I always played the long game. The elevator ride down to the lobby was silent. Through the glass walls, I saw the San Francisco skyline, the same view I'd gazed at every day while building SecureFlow from the ground up. 6 years of work, sleepless nights, and endless hours of coding, all leading to this moment. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire, my lead developer and oldest friend. "Is it done?" "Yes," I replied. "Plan B starts now." Claire was one of the few who knew about the preparations I'd made over the last 6 months, ever since I first suspected Ethan's betrayal. Like me, she'd seen this coming. Walking through the lobby, I passed Rachel from HR, who quickly averted her gaze, unable to meet my eyes. She had been one of the first to sign the board resolution, even though I'd been the one to hire her when no other company would take a chance on her background. "It's nothing personal," she'd likely tell herself. "Just business." But they were all wrong. With Ethan, everything was personal. I stepped into the bright California sunlight, slipping on my sunglasses as I headed for my car. The air was crisp against my skin, carrying the familiar sense of coffee and fog, the unmistakable feeling that San Francisco was waking up. By noon, the tech world would know that Ethan Smith had staged a hostile takeover of SecureFlow, ousting his ex-wife and seizing control of one of the Valley's most promising cybersecurity firms. What they wouldn't know, what Ethan didn't know, was that I had been preparing for this moment from the day I discovered his first move. As I drove home, my thoughts drifted back to how this all began. Ethan and I had met at Stanford's computer science program. He was charming, driven, and seemed to share my passion for coding in a way few people did. We married right after graduation, and while I immersed myself in development work, he climbed the corporate ranks at various tech companies. When I founded SecureFlow in our garage, he had been supportive, or so I believed. Looking back, I saw it now. He'd been waiting for the right time. 2 years ago, he joined the company as COO, just as we started to gain real momentum. His business skills were supposed to complement my technical expertise. Or so I thought. The first red flag came last year during our divorce. It was smooth, cordial, no disputes over assets, no nasty accusations. He even allowed me to retain full control of the company without a fight. That should have been my first warning. Ethan never gave up anything without a plan to reclaim it. I pulled into my driveway and sat in my car for a moment, staring at the house I bought after the divorce. It was smaller than our old place, but it had something more valuable. A secure home office where I'd been quietly building my contingency plan for the last 6 months. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Claire. Key meeting in an hour. Everyone's confirming. I smiled faintly. While Ethan had been busy networking and courting the board, I had been fostering loyalty among the people who actually built our products. The developers, engineers, and security experts who understood that SecureFlow's value didn't lie in its market cap or boardroom politics, but in its code. I entered my home office and powered up my system, connecting to our development servers one last time. My access would soon be cut off, but I only needed a few minutes. Lines of code flashed across the screen, the platform we were preparing to launch. 2 years of work, millions of lines of code, all leading to this moment. What Ethan didn't understand, what he never would, was that in software development, true power isn't in ownership. It's in understanding the code. A notification appeared on my screen. Access granted. Final protocol initiated. I typed in a series of commands, my fingers moving swiftly over the keys. To anyone monitoring the system, it would look like routine pre-launch checks. But I was actually activating a series of triggers I had embedded deep within the code months earlier. Ethan thought he had just inherited a revolutionary security platform. What he had actually inherited was something far more complex. My phone rang. It was James, my lawyer. "Sophia," he said when I answered, "I just got the termination papers. Are you sure about this? We could fight it." "No need," I replied, watching the progress bar on my screen move forward. "Everything's proceeding exactly as planned." "They're already announcing Ethan as the new CEO," James continued. "The press release just went out." "Perfect timing," I said, pressing the final key. "How long until the markets open?" "About an hour." "Sophia, what's your plan?" I could hear the concern in his voice. James had been with me since SecureFlow's early days, and he'd seen how much I'd invested in this company. "Just watch," I told him. "And James, make sure you're recording CNBC around 10 a.m. You'll want to see this." After hanging up, I opened another window on my computer and started a countdown timer. In exactly 47 minutes, when the markets opened, Ethan would discover the true meaning of business is business. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Claire, accompanied by 5 key members of our development team. "Everyone's here," she said as they filed into my home office. "The rest are connected remotely." I nodded, turning to face the group. These were the people who had built SecureFlow with me, who understood the stakes. "Is it done?" asked Alex, our head of network security. "Almost," I replied, gesturing to the countdown timer. "In 45 minutes, Ethan will learn a very important lesson about the difference between owning code and understanding it." Maya, our UX/UI lead, gave me a knowing smile. "This is going to be fun." "Let's just make sure we get the timing right," I said. As the seconds ticked down, I felt a deep calm wash over me. The company may have been taken from me, but my work, the heart of SecureFlow, was never going anywhere. When the timer hit 0, I pressed a final key. Within moments, SecureFlow's stock began to plummet. It didn't stop. Not until it had crashed beyond repair. Outside, the city of San Francisco continued to wake up, unaware that SecureFlow was now in freefall. And Ethan Smith was about to learn that betrayal, in this world, always carries consequences. By the time the stock market opened, SecureFlow's value had started free-falling at an alarming speed. As soon as the security triggers I'd embedded were activated, Ethan's new empire was no longer the promising leader in cybersecurity it once was. Within minutes, the tech world erupted with breaking headlines. SecureFlow hit by massive security breach, 60% drop in stock in first hour. New CEO's brief reign ends with unprecedented cybersecurity crisis. Ethan's face was all over the news, his smug smile from his announcement quickly replaced by shock and confusion as analysts dug into what had caused the catastrophic collapse. "Sophia, what did you do?" James's voice came through the phone when I answered. "It's not about what I did," I said calmly, my eyes glued to the screen as the news outlets updated. "It's about what Ethan failed to notice, my code." There was a brief silence on the other end. "You're telling me you?" "That's right," I confirmed. I planted a series of backdoor triggers within the platform's security systems, hidden right under his nose, like a Trojan horse. James paused to absorb it. "So you've essentially locked SecureFlow down?" "Not quite," I corrected. "The company's assets are still intact. The platform is operational. It's just that the vulnerabilities I coded in were set to activate when Ethan's leadership was weakest. And now, the world knows SecureFlow is more than just a company. It's a time bomb filled with unresolved issues." I leaned back in my chair, watching the stock numbers drop lower. This was it, the final phase of my retribution. Ethan had underestimated me. He thought running a company was about connections and sales. But in the end, the true power lay in who controlled the code. An alert appeared on my screen. It was Claire, ready to meet. She'd been there since the beginning, and now, I knew she was prepared for what came next. "I'll be there in 30, I replied quickly. When I reached the office, the tension was palpable. Longtime employees, many of whom had been with SecureFlow from the start, huddled in small groups, gossiping in disbelief about the company's rapid collapse. Ethan was nowhere to be found. "Where's Ethan?" I asked Alex, our head of network security, who was typing furiously at a laptop. "He's holed up in a conference room," Alex muttered. "He's trying to figure out what happened, but it's too late. The damage is done. There's no recovery from this in the short term." "Good," I said, moving past him. "It's time to clean house." Inside the conference room, Ethan was pacing, looking like a shell of the confident CEO he once was. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his movements frantic. When he saw me, his face hardened. "You think you've won, Sophia? You think I'll just let you take everything?" I let the silence linger. All the trust I had placed in him, all the years I spent fighting for SecureFlow, it was all reduced to dust. I wasn't angry anymore. I was beyond that. I knew what needed to be done. "I haven't won, Ethan," I replied, my voice steady. "I didn't have to. You were always going to lose because you never understood the company. You never understood me." His eyes narrowed. "You think you can just walk back in? The board won't back you. The investors." "Who do you think they trust?" I interrupted. "The man who knows nothing about how SecureFlow actually works, or the woman who built it from the ground up?" The realization hit him instantly. For the first time, I saw doubt flicker across his face. But it was too late. Ethan had already played his hand, and now he had nothing left. "Sophia," I said, firm as steel, "I'm not here to argue with the board or the investors. I'm here to offer you a deal. Walk away now, leave SecureFlow, and I'll let you keep your reputation intact. Stay, and I'll bury you with this company." His jaw tightened as he took a step forward. But I didn't flinch. The truth was undeniable. SecureFlow was finished in its current state. Investors would abandon it, the product would become obsolete, and the media would tear him apart. This was the moment that would define his career, and it was a moment he wouldn't recover from. "What makes you think they'll listen to you now?" he spat. "I'm still the CEO." "The new CEO." I raised an eyebrow, already knowing the answer. "Check the stock price." He quickly checked his phone, his face draining of color as he saw the same numbers I had been watching. The stock was in freefall. SecureFlow's collapse was faster than he could ever have imagined. "You're really going to let me walk away with nothing?" he muttered, voice cracking. "After everything we've been through?" "Everything?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Ethan, I spent 6 years building SecureFlow into what it was. You spent 2 years trying to steal it from me." He staggered back, his shoulders sagging as the weight of his actions finally dawned on him. "Leave now, Ethan," I repeated, my tone cold and resolute. "Before it's too late." For a long moment he stood there, eyes burning with anger and regret. Then, without another word, he turned and left the room. By that evening, news outlets were ablaze with the story of Ethan Smith's sudden departure from SecureFlow and the company's catastrophic downfall. The truth was clear. Ethan's hostile takeover had backfired in spectacular fashion. The board, investors, and media quickly realized what had happened. Without me, SecureFlow was nothing. Meanwhile, I was already putting the wheels in motion to reclaim my position. My legal team was working on the paperwork to reinstate me as CEO, and Claire, Alex, and the rest of the team were preparing for the next steps. We would rebuild Secure Flow, stronger, more secure, and more united than ever. Ethan's betrayal had nearly destroyed us, but it also showed us just how much we could achieve when we trusted each other. This time, there would be no room for betrayal. By the next morning, Secure Flow was on the road to recovery, and I was back in control.